All right. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the internet, man? I am so excited to just come back and come through one more time and jump into this one. This one I'm really excited about because this is part five of the Leadership Academy. I've been wanting to do this one for such a long time, but just kind of holding myself back. And thank you so much. And I just wanted to say that I've been publishing these videos on my private YouTube channel. I never knew this could be something that I want to keep doing, but I've just found so much value over the time to learn and to learn how I learn that, man, I just want to keep doing the thing, I just want to keep doing the thing. So go ahead and check me out. Just search It's Crocs because I'm not yet, I don't have many followers as yet to um but regardless, this is more of a private process and I'm doing this mostly for me. Yeah, so it's not for you. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about the rich dad, poor dad. And this is an image I got from the internet. But I have a fascinating story such that I legit read this book like 11 years ago when I was in high school. Not even 11, I think maybe like 13 years ago. I was still a teenager. I had never made any shelling, and I went on to say how this life influenced me and influenced all of my decisions. In fact, okay, let's go. Crocs World, Crocs World.blogspot.com. Yeah, I think this is what my first blog used to be called. And yeah, man, so crazy. It's back in 2008, man. And I don't know why it's like this. It's like a 2009. Yeah, I mean, yo, this is actually the first time I'm coming to look at this in like this year. I need to read this. I have to agree that this is one book that has left a major impact in my life. I got hold of it in my dad's bookshelf and went ahead to read it. If I should have read it before, maybe I would have changed my whole thinking thoroughly. I learned about three types of income: earned income, which you earn from your day job; passive income, which comes to you regardless of you working or not, majorly from real estate; portfolio income, which comes mainly from paper assets such as stocks and bonds. I'm more inclined to think like the rich in order to become rich, but that will have to wait a bit considering I'm doing my final year in high school. Phew. Then I will go ahead and apply the skills that I would have collected throughout that time. At the moment, I'm trying to my best to build my financial IQ, and I hope to familiarize myself with the market, both the stock and the real estate market. The Rich Dad series are the books which I hope to finish reading as the year comes to a close. Oh well, maybe by mid next year I will be completely through. If you happen to read this and you have not read this book and you're caught in the rat race, if you don't get it, you should definitely get the series. Buy the book and the rest of the series. And oh yeah, please join the movement. Get rich! Actually, this is very interesting for me. Very, very, very interesting for me. Hey, look, this is a bunch of blogs I had I was following. Yo, don't look. Anyway, so I read this book 11 years ago, man, and so when I was doing the series, the Leadership Academy, you guys remember I did after reading Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn sort of just coming to change my life, and when he talked especially about like the finance stuff, I was like, yo, this is some things I know. And then when I went and read The Richest Man in Babylon, reread The Richest Man in Babylon, the insights were so powerful. I thought to myself, this is something that I've done before. I've actually read The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But that was such a long time ago. I had not started working. I had not even gone to uni. I was still in high school. And so I was just curious, if I go back and read this book, what insights might jump at me based on what I know now. And that's exactly what we're coming to do from this book. So in this series, in this video right now, I'm just going to talk about the highlights and the notes that are highlighted from the book, and some of the big things that really stood out to me. I had gone ahead and highlighted majority of the things that I thought was profound. Maybe those are the things that I'm going to talk about. But then there's so many powerful insights and highlights that I got from this book. So let's just jump into this. All right, chapter one. I highlighted this on October 15. Money comes and goes, but if you have the education about how money works, you gain power over it and you begin building wealth. So I really like that. And when I was redoing, I highlighted that. And I don't know why I highlighted that. It doesn't give me the same um Oh, so let's read this, and then this had an impression on me, and I don't even remember seeing this when I read this book 11 years ago. So it says, so for example, said Rich Dad, if the fear of not having enough money arises, instead of immediately running out to get a job so that they can earn a few bucks to kill the fear, they instead might ask themselves this question: will a job be the best solution to this fear of in the long run? In my opinion, the answer is no, especially when you look over a person's lifetime. A job is really a short term solution to a long term problem. It continues another highlight. They quit and go looking for another job, a better opportunity, a higher pay, actually thinking that a new job, more pay will solve the problem. In most cases, it won't. It was a single point of view that made all the difference over a lifetime. Now, I remember, yeah, in this chapter especially, it had a very big impression on me, because now in this chapter, Rich Dad refuses to pay Mike and Kiyosaki, and he tells them the story that the people who work for him have accepted to work for him, and like everybody has a price. And I remember that being a very very powerful thing that came over my mind, like, you, even me, I have a price. And right now that I have a family and everything, I could totally see how life, things, bills, school fees, can make you look for a job instead of thinking of long-term solutions. So yeah, that was dope. This one, I already know that my study of money will continue over my lifetime, simply because the more I find out, the more I find out I need to know. And this is also profound because I started thinking about even my relationship with money, like, why am I like this? And interestingly, this will be part 6. I'm going to come through, and I've been reading a book called The Psychology of Money, and it's a really interesting book. And how I'm envisioning even some of these like finance books, I'm thinking that these are books that help you further the money conversation. And I'm just also really really excited that, like, the conversation that you have around money, it's something that needs to go because it evolves. And that's why I'm also very very excited for coming back and rereading the books like the Rich Dad series one more time after 11 years. So that's the price of only knowing how to work for money instead of studying how to have money work for you. So Rich Dad tapped me on the head and said again, use this. Now get out of here and back to work. And the Rich Dad, he said, I want to expand your point of view so you can see something most people never have the benefit of seeing because their vision is too narrow. Many people never see the trap they are in. I really do think, and I got so influenced by this idea that I started believing it's true. Oh, I'm looking for a word, and a modern word. Let me say pimped. So everybody is pimped by their greed, everybody is pimped by their desires, and everybody is pimped by the lifestyle that they choose to live. And you want to be smart enough to know and to realize that these things do pimp you, man. Like these things will be your master. And so it's very important when those things come up, instead of giving in to them and getting a job to solve them, you should refuse to give in to them, and then maybe think of, now, how can you solve this, how can you raise money to do this type of things. And I've really thought about that. Chapter 2, most people have a price, and they have a price because the human emotions call fear and greed. That was the idea that Rich Dad was telling Kiyosaki, that people have a price, and people have a price to come and say, I'm gonna work for you, and the boss would say, I'm going to give you this, and if you can negotiate, that's your price. Most people have a price, man. It's so, I know, I think it makes this idea, now that I've been alive for a while, it makes so much sense to me, because I could even see how people would take jobs without negotiating, how people would just accept that, okay, fine, this job is not very, it's just like it's 20,000 shillings. They say, like, fine, I'll do it. But if you have a price, you're going to do that job, all right? Chapter 2. So the pattern of get up, go work, pay bills, get up, go to work, pay bills, their lives are then run forever by two emotions, fear and greed. Money is running their lives, and they refuse to tell the truth about that. So the idea is, you don't want money to run your life, you want you to run money. And this also comes back to the big idea that was in The Richest Man in Babylon, that you have to understand stewardship, that instead of money running your lives, you have this, you want to do this, you want to do this, you need to be a master over money. And I think this is a whole different dynamic in the money conversation that I'm not even sure that people have, like when you read books and you start having this type of vision, you're like, whoa, 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 then I think I need to show up differently, like in my money life. You understand? Right, let me just go to the ones that I've highlighted. Yeah, I want to teach you to master the power of money, not to be afraid of it. And they don't teach you that in school. And if you don't learn it, you become a slave to money. I remember really pondering that day when I finally read this, and I was just really thinking about the power that money has over people, the power that greed has over people, the power that fear has over people that is attached to money. And it is so crazy that it would make you do things, it would make you get into debt and do a bunch of things that seems crazy, but you have allowed money to have power over you. But people who are stewards, who have dominated the power of money, they don't get pushed into this idea. And I started even thinking, well, then it's true. I could understand why people get into debt. It makes a lot of sense. If you Like, it makes a lot of sense to get into debt if you're a slave to the money. But if you're a good steward and you're a master of money, you won't be in bad debt, you'll be a good investor and things like that. So I just remember this chapter really, really influencing me to start thinking about, now, how can I start living my life in such a way that I master money, instead of have the power of money mastering my life. I think that was very, very important. I Okay, let me go to the next one that I highlighted. Heaven forbid a bean counter takes over a business. Here they were talking about managers versus people who actually like stewards of money. Uh, Going into our fear and confronting our greed, our weaknesses, our neediness is the way out. And the way out is through the mind and by choosing our thoughts. I want to talk a little bit about this and why I think this is very powerful. I think just because I've lived a little bit, I've come into some sort of insight, some sort of awareness, I would say, about myself, about my mind, about my fears, about my greed. And I do consider myself like a wholesome human being, like I've felt anger, I've felt pain, I've felt love, I've felt lust. Um, and those are not things that I'm afraid like to talk about. Like, I know it's part of the human experience. And so the idea of confronting this experience is something that I've also just been working on privately. So when I saw this, I thought it was a very enlightened statement, right? So when he says going into a fear and confronting our greed, our weakness and our neediness is the way out. So let's talk about the first one. When we confront our greed, we ask ourselves, wow, like how does greed make me show up in the world? How does greed make me show up with my money? How, like, what are my weaknesses when it comes to money? Like, is it true? And how can I just be like frank about it and my neediness, right? And so when you realize those things, you start seeing your weaknesses and you start seeing the areas that you go wrong, and you're able to start changing it, and you start changing how you think about them. You start reframing how you think about these things, and you choose better thoughts. I remember this um really speaking to me. So let's jump to another highlight. Most people never see these opportunities because they're looking for money and security. So that's all they get. Oh, I need to talk about this. Oh man, there's so many layers because like I read this book and I would read it really slowly over the course of a few days. And there was even a break where I stopped reading it and I came back and finished it later on. But I just had, because I was rereading this book from like when I was a teenager. I felt in my private journal like I was unpacking a lot of things, and I was having a lot of conversation in my own mind. So, for example, like most people never see these opportunities because they're looking for money and security. So that's all they get. I remember just thinking, wow, like there's so many opportunities all around us. And I must have even talked about this when I was talking about the richest man in Babylon, where and I linked that to the verse in the Bible where time and chance is given to everyone. And I remember once really wondering and pondering about time and chance. And it was interesting because that's like a side story. That week, our pastor taught us on church that there's a law called time and chance, and then like, just it happens for everybody, right? But now this idea of opportunities, that opportunities really do exist, and you can only see opportunities with your mind. But now, if you are not looking for opportunities and you're only looking for money and security, that's all you're going to get. But if your mind is going to look for money and security, I mean for opportunities, not just money and security, you're going to see so many opportunities and you can jump on these opportunities. I think this is a fundamentally different way of thinking about just thinking in general, an entrepreneur mindset. It's very different from how like you'd show up if you're just working. Like if I, like 5 years ago I would just like work for money and security and I'll be like, "So, okay, which job pays the best and I want to apply for that and maybe get those ones." But now I'm thinking, okay, fine, so what other opportunities do actually exist in this market, exist in this industry, exist in the fringes? What are some areas that we can do ABCD? When I started to think like that, I saw that the I want to use the word opportunity, but the potential for tapping into something that's greater than you is so massive. And this is what, like, just in chapter 2 he starts teaching you, like, this is a different way of thinking about, about life. And I think also, what happened in this chapter where I quoted this, um, the Mike and Kiyosaki, because they were not getting paid by Rich Dad, they decided to hire out comic books, and kids would come and read comic book for like a bunch of pennies, and they will collect all those pennies, pay their librarian, and then they would keep the profits. But they, because they were not making money, they started looking around. So, what opportunities exist in this area, and how can we take advantage of that? I think it's a fundamentally different way of showing up in the world, and also it made a lot of sense to me because this is the kind of like the change that I've been going through in the last maybe say like 2 to 4 years of my life. Ever since like I started my family, just changing from the kind of thinking or the kind of mindset that things are done. For me, for example, I'm giving money expected to like produce a result, to start thinking more of like an owner. How can I get more money? How can I get, so the type of way that I show up now is just like a bigger thinking. And I thought that was very profound and something that I totally missed out when I was much younger. And even I just found out that the only thing I really don't remember is three types of income. All right. So I highlighted this one. I only caution that in the long run, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep and how many generations you keep it. And I later on discovered that this is called financial IQ. And even in the book that I'm reading right now, um, The Psychology of Money, they really do talk about how long this is wealth, right? This is wealth. How long you keep money. It's not like how much money you make, but like how much of it you keep and how many generations you keep it, and that is wealth. And those are the kind of people who build wealth. And I remember even reading from The Richest Man in Babylon that wealth is how long you keep this money. um I don't think I actively was thinking about these ideas about money initially, and so I'm really excited to come and see these ideas show up. In accounting, Rich Dad would say it's not the numbers, but what the numbers are telling you. Money only accentuates the cash flow pattern running in your head. Yeah, here so Richard Kiyosaki says like if your pattern is to spend, and you get more money, you're going like to spend it all. If the cash flow pattern in your head is to invest, when you get money, you're going to invest. And I think this is fundamentally very different how people show up. I think it's very very important to learn these things because now you learn even a different way of showing up, and it allows you to start thinking. So how do I show up in the world? What is the cash flow pattern running in my head? When I get my first moolah, my first money, where does it go to? So what is that cash flow pattern running in my head? This, for example, me just reading this book has given me an opportunity to do a deeper self reflection about money and the money conversation. And I can't really wait to do the psychology of money with you guys, because then I feel like especially that book has like prolonged this conversation about money and about like financial IQ, that I think is very very important to prolong this conversation and to even know more about this subject, to get deeper and deeper into it. All right. Wealth is a measure of the cash flow from the asset column compared to the expense column. All right. So yeah, that's just okay. What else can I explain about that? All right. Chapter 4. The secret is mind your business. This right here is another thing that I never got when I did this book way back when I was a teenager, because I mean it never clicked. I guess because I had never worked before. I guess because I had never made my own money before. I was still in high school and I was in a boarding school. I was really just waiting to get out, do my finals, and go start making my money. And also I never reread this book again. So yeah, that's one of those things. But then this idea of minding a business is so important. I started thinking because now I've been a creative for like a big part of my adult life, and I've been a struggling creative. So like that's been also a part of my story and a part of my history. Like I've struggled before financially, being broke and whatever. But Rich Dad talked about minding a business, and he said minding your business is really choosing to become financially smart, keeping a portion of your income aside, and using that money to invest, being an investor actually, so that that money can bring back a good return into your pocket. This goes hand in hand with the teachings from the richest man in Babylon, that you keep a portion of your income, your golden children. You do not spend your golden children, and then you take your golden children and you apply them after like your golden children have become a sizable amount, and you apply them into a business that you are sure you're going to get a sizable return out of it. And so even lately I've been studying, there's bonds, there's stocks. These are things that I actually never took keen interest into it. There's insurance. There are all this type of financial vehicles that if you choose to mind your business, you could be doing that every month, regardless of your situation, regardless of whether you're a creative, regardless of whether you are a performing artist, regardless of whether like you're a real businessman or a teacher or whatnot. You need to mind your business. I remember just this being such a profound teaching that I thought, like, if I knew what I know now, then indeed you could be whatever you want to be. You could be a clown, you could be a circus clown, and you could be performing in towns. You could be a street magician, right? And you could be performing on the streets every single day. But if you are smart and you mind your business, you will take a portion of the income that you have and put it in a place where it will generate a sizable return, and that is non-negotiable for you. I just feel like this is such a profound thing, and I don't even know why it never occurred to me that I should have been minding my business from the word go. I think like the modern world, maybe it has a lot of materialism, and that's why I think the money conversation is so important, because now, if you're not having these money conversations, you might even know how you can start applying this money and putting it into your life, to work for you. A lot of people know, um, just like intellectually they know these ideas, but they have not felt emotionally the impact of how these ideas could change them. All right. And so, yeah, I highlighted that. Let's see if I highlighted something else. All right, I just like have skipped an entire chapters. Yeah, look at this, man. The mistake in becoming what you study is that too many people forget to mind their own business. I think this is profound, and I should have highlighted this. So, like, a lot of people forget to mind their own business. So you decide you study to become a graphic designer, and you become that, and you forget that you're supposed to mind your business. The primary reason the majority of the poor and middle class are fiscally conservative, which means I can't afford to take risks, is they have no financial foundation. And they have to cling to their jobs. They have to play it safe. Let's talk about this, man, because like I said, this ideas that I never thought of 11 years ago, man. So when you have no like financial foundation, you have no teaching on money, you have no teaching on spending. You see, let me tell you a very interesting story. My wife would laugh if she ever watched this. And my wife, one time when we just got married, and we would talk about money back at my parents' house, and my parents would talk about money, like what are you going to do? What have you done with this? How can you do it? And we just like have a money conversation that's like really, really tough. And she told me, like when I grew up, we've never talked about money. Like my parents have never talked to me about money. Like never talked to me about saving, never talked to me about insurance, never talked to me about investing, never talked to me about good investment ideas. Like I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't think there was a divide between people who talk about money and people who don't talk about money. Like I just thought like, okay, this is what people do. You know what I mean? But then turns out that indeed that people who don't have a financial foundation, man, oh, it is so crazy. There are people who do not know that they could save. You understand? Like they don't know that they could save. They know saving exists, but they don't think it can apply for them. And man, this really this also just I started thinking very, very differently about this, because I've also had seasons and stretches of my adult life where even I didn't have savings. And I remember even a high school business teacher saying, if you want to get ahead in life, the one thing you need to do is save. Save, save, save. I remember it so vividly. A business education teacher. And every time I wanted to save, I would remember, because that was the context that I had. I would remember him. Yeah, man. All right. Um. Yeah, this is dope. Yeah, this is dope. Once this idea. This idea is exactly what I was talking about in The Richest Man in Babylon. So once a dollar goes into it, never let it come out. Think of it this way. Once a dollar goes into your asset column, it becomes your employee. Golden children blow, golden slaves. It it becomes your slave that your sole responsibility is to never ever allow it outside your asset column. Why did I go so long even having read this book without internalizing the impact of this idea? And this idea really is the same ideas from like The Richest Man in Babylon, and it shocked me because it's like majority of like the financial advice is 120% The Richest Man in Babylon. All the other books just add words into it. They add tricks and strategies and English and psychology into it, but it really is just The Richest Man in Babylon. I remember that's just really really impacting me, man. All right. So on the other hand, within my organization, the fewer people I hire and the less money I spend, the more I am respected by investors. This is something I never also understood, but I remember picking it up the other day. So he was talking about capitalists are frugal, where like governments are there to spend money, but capitalists are going to find ways of cutting, like the open taps of finances that money is leaving the organization. They're going to cut it. They're going to find ways of really being efficient. And you know, if you do work, and I see this even for business people and small business people, if you have a small business or just like a family owned business or whatever, one of the things that you want to do is to cut as much as possible money leaving the organization, and you just want to spend as little money as you can. But governments, non-profits, especially just governments, I guess, they really want to spend as much as they can, and yeah, that's one of those things. All right. Yeah, this is something uh that I never highlighted, but over the last few weeks since I came to do this, have thought about it differently. Um it's very important for me. So for all the years I studied and learned from him, he always reminded me that knowledge was power. All right? And And with money comes great power that requires the right knowledge to keep it and make it multiply. And without that knowledge, the world pushes you around. I've really thought a lot about this, and because I watched a Kiyosaki video sometime like in the last 2 weeks on YouTube, and somebody asked him, "How would you go about if you were to become an investor today? Would you invest like in crypto and whatever?" And then he said the first thing I would do is I would study. And I had just read this book. I thought it was so profound because, like, he mentioned that it's very important for you individually, as an investor, as a business person, as just like as a person in general, that you have to go to study. You have to go and study money and study markets and study investments and look at what is around. You need to task yourself to study. Um, Also, that's another reason why I'm doing this, because I'm like, yes, then I need to go harder at collecting knowledge, at gathering the right information that will help me get to the next level. I need to constantly um, learn. All right. Chapter 5, the first lesson of having money work for me as opposed to working for money is really all about power. All right. That's like, boom. And if you work for money, you give the power up to your employer. But if your money works for you, you keep and control the power. Like, who doesn't want to be powerful? Maybe some people don't want to be powerful. Maybe some people that doesn't really like ring a bell to them. They don't want power. They don't want to be in control. But this is also confronting some of your greed, and confronting some of your needs and some of your desires. Like, we do want to be in power. We do want to be in control. We do want to um um in a way have a say to the things that are going to happen to us, even if there's like a whole spectrum of things that we have no control over. But you do want to have some level of power, and I think that's manliness. I think, yeah, I think that's leadership. All right, let's. I wonder what's. All right, so yeah. So the world is always providing us with instant feedback. We could learn a lot if we tuned in more. Educated dad thought I went to school to learn to be a ship's officer. Rich dad knew that I went to school to study international trade. All right. Okay. The reason so many air, talented people are poor is because they focus on building a better hamburger and know little to nothing about business systems. Right? This is the E-Myth. E-Myth. It's another book that I need to review because man, probably I'm going to do the E-Myth before I do the psychology of money, because the E-Myth literally transformed my life. It was like a bullet straight to my brain, and I remember just saying, because I was really really frustrated, and I want you to know, in my leadership academy and in my growth and in me trying to be a business person, those are some of the pains that I've really really felt, and like I have that type of scar tissue. Is that I was trying just to be a creative, and I was trying mosquito, yeah, got you. And I was just trying to be like a creative, and do photographs and make a bunch of graphics, and I will occasionally just do like video stuff. And I was I was managing a dance crew. I was doing events, and my life has really been like around creative people. And I would wonder, why am I constantly broke? I would wonder why my energy is constantly stretched thin. And you know what? Because like I was doing everything, and so the E-Myth brought in the idea of business systems, and man, that transformed my life. I need to redo that book next. Yeah, so this works for me now. If I'm a talented person, like the thing about being talented is not like building like a better website, it's building a better system of business around websites, right? So yeah, man, just this, that's one of those things. Yeah, one of the most important specialized skills are sales and understanding marketing. Yeah, that's something I'd never thought about when I was younger, especially sales. I never knew sales like I knew now, because now also starting a small business had to force me to really start thinking about sales. And yeah, that's one of those things. I have not highlighted. Have I? Did I? Yeah. Why have I not highlighted a bunch of things in between here? Mm, all right. So let me go to where I was. Yeah. So here is also just about like studying. I know no other skill is more important than selling as well as marketing. Yeah, I remember this, thinking about this and saying, yeah, that's so true. But when I was like 19, 18, when I was 18, there's no way this would have made sense to me. Giving money is the secret to most great wealthy families. They were talking about generosity. This is something I really also want for my life. I want to be more generous. And I was just so impressed to also see that idea of generosity coming through in this book. I thought it was just so profound. Yeah, so here was about just being brave, having guts, choose poor. I've never met a rich person who has never lost money, but I have met a lot of poor people who have never lost a dime. Yeah, yeah. So we have to go out there and lose a bunch of cash, right? Yeah, yeah. We better. Yeah. All right, all right. So if you if you desire being rich, you must focus. Because stacking the asset column is easy. It's really a low aptitude game. It doesn't take much education. To get math will do, but stacking the asset column is a high altitude game. It takes guts, patience, great attitude toward failure. Losers avoid failing, and failure turns losers into winners. So I remember also just so this book is very interesting. The way he's written it, I think you have maybe to stay sometimes with like a paragraph and to let it marinate. So I remember him saying that actually investing is easy. It's like a low aptitude game. You don't need to be smart. That's what it means. You don't need to be smart, but you do need to like be about that. That's why it's a high attitude game. So you don't need to be smart. And I think he meant that. So you just look at life. What are assets? This business is an asset. It produces things. So yeah, let me collect more of these assets, and then it's high attitude because I just need to stick it out, and I need to like have a great attitude toward failure, and and yeah, I just thought that was very very profound, man. All right, let's move on to. So it's been a while, and I've been reading it and writing and thinking, and here in so this man, I've thought a lot about this. That pressure made me work harder, forced me to think, and all in all made me smarter and more active when it comes to money. All right. So, man, we need to talk about that. So, how do you beat laziness? The answer is a little greed. I remember when I said the premise of the book when it begins, it says that you need to be open about you need to be frank about your greed, your neediness, and your um um what's the word that they used, shortcomings. And so you also need to embrace some of this like things into your life. And here he said pay yourself first. I think it's in this chapter that he talks about pay yourself first, and he goes ahead to talk about his strategy of paying himself first. And even in the richest man in Babylon, they just say you need to do it, but no one has even given like a framework of how he does it. But then you'd see, for example, Kiyosaki would say, whenever he's faced with like a situation, he pays himself first, and then after paying myself, the pressure to pay my taxes and other creditors is so great that it forces me to seek other forms of income. Look at that. I would have never, I would have never had that insight had I not first of all appreciated the truths in the richest man in Babylon, and two, thought that paying yourself first is a way that you need to live. And then he would say that the pressure made me work harder, forced me to think, and all in all made me smarter and more active when it comes to my money. So when you decide, okay, fine, I'm gonna receive 100,000 Kenya shillings as my paycheck, and I'm going to pay myself 30,000 shillings. Boom! It goes into your account. You're not going to touch that. You've paid yourself first. Now you're remaining with 70,000 shillings. You have house bills. You have all these other things looking at you. You still pay yourself first. And then when your need is great, you start thinking, how can I meet these other needs without touching the one that I've paid myself first? It's a very different way of thinking. It's it's a very different way of thinking, like totally different to how I've been thinking and living like my financial life. And it's so interesting and it's so fascinating that there's someone who's like articulated this model for me to replicate. Forcing myself to think about how to make extra money. It's like going to the gym and working out weights, right? The more I work my mental money muscles out, the stronger I get. Now, I'm not afraid of those bullies. Oh, that was good, man. This is so good. Especially because I've been really here, and maybe kudos to me. Maybe it's just because I have a family and I have more pressure. I really, really wanna come through for them. But it forces you to think about how to make extra money, and I love that. I love that. All right, what else did I highlight? Chapter 9. You see, if you learn something new, you're then required to make mistakes in order to fully understand what you've learned. This line, honestly, I have thought about it subconsciously for so long, like for the last week. It just kept popping in my mind. Right? And like today is what? Let's like today is December 1st, and that's why I read this like a month ago. right? And it's been like marinating in my head that if you learn something, you are required to make mistakes in order to fully understand what you've learned. Like I just, ooh, it's so powerful. It's such a, and I don't know, maybe um, I would have never seen this with my high school mind. I would have never seen the challenge, the Kiyosaki offering you the opportunity to come in and make mistakes, to come in and like, so you want to get rich, all right? Come in, come and do some mistakes. But so if you learn something new, you are required to make mistakes. You are required to make mistakes, because now, like, if you don't make mistakes, you can't fully understand what you've learned. So like, if I've learned about investing, I am required to make a bunch of mistakes. Like, it's a part of the process. And I think even that's what I was trying to tell my wife this morning, and we laughed so hard. Because yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, but you are required to make mistakes. I've really felt like this is so profound, and it comes like when the book is coming to an end, and it's like an invitation for you to go and try these things out. All right, but there's one distinction that I would like to point out. I've noticed that my friends with money talk about money, and I do not mean brag. They're interested in the subject, so I learn from them, and they learn from me. My friends, whom I know are in dire straits financially, do not like talking about money, business, or investing. This is also one of those things. Also, this also just gave me a lot of confidence to be like, okay, fine, yeah. So I guess the money conversation is something rich people do. And also going back to that story that I was saying, my wife telling me that how growing up they've never actually talked about money. They not talk about investing, insurance, covers, what's the best one, real estate, which markets, what's popping right now. And this is so fascinating to me that this could be true, and also it's an encouragement. Yeah, that man, you need to do this. So people who have low self-esteem and low tolerance for financial pressure can never, and I mean never, be rich. So what you want to have is like some high self-esteem. I just like tolerate financial pressure, man. Like dates, creditors, big things that you need to do. You need to invite financial pressure into your life and challenge yourself to overcome them. This is such a beautiful invitation just for life and entrepreneurship and how to think about money. And especially one of the things I would say, I've really had an interesting conversation with myself ever since I read this series of books. And so I'm coming in like in December to record these videos, but I've been talking a lot about this in my private journal. I've been reading a bunch of articles. I've just been writing a lot about these thoughts, and I forget what I was going to say, but I think it's in the line that, yeah, I wanted to say that for you to be a small business owner, it does then seem to me to be a successful small business owner where there's almost no like difference between you and your business. You need to be a powerful, and I mean powerful, steward of money. You need to understand this principles of money. Pay yourself first. Put aside a certain type of income. When money comes, reinvest into your thing. Build a brand. Build marketing. Learn sales. Learn communication. Learn leadership. You know, and I just started really thinking. And then once you master that, you can replicate that on a bigger model. And in chapter 9, as you go towards finishing the book, he says, The Richest Man in Babylon by George is where the statement pay yourself first comes from. Millions of copies have been sold, but while millions of people freely repeat that powerful statement, few follow that advice. I was 18 years old when I was 17 actually, because I wasn't even 18 yet. I was 17 when I read this book. And I even never looked for the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, until like a few years later when I had it in another talk, and I never even finished it until like 11 years later. So this is like pop culture references, like people know this information, but few follow that advice. You know why? Like why did very few people follow that advice? You understand? And here is going to talk about more that I still paid myself first, and I think in here is going to talk more about that idea. That is why the book is really about having guts to go against the tide and get rich. You may not be weak, but when it comes to money, many people get wimpy. And here's the idea. The secondly, when I constantly come up short, I still pay myself first. I let the creditors and even the government scream. I like it when they get tough. You know why? Because those guys do me a favor. They inspire me to go out and create more money. So I pay myself first, invest the money, and let the creditors yell. Wow, have you? This is a different way of thinking. Even in my marriage, man. Like, we tried. Me and my wife, we just tried to live a good frugal life. And we pay our bills on time always. We try to meet our bills always. But like, what if? Only what if for some reason I would have? Yeah, I don't want to explore that thought. That's irresponsible. But you understand? Maybe not house bills, but let's talk about like other things that I need to do out there. If I was like, no, 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 I'm gonna do those things and let that pressure mount, right? So when you come up short, let that pressure build and don't dip into your savings or investments. And this is something I've actually done before, and I feel so bad that I've dipped into my savings. And I remember even talking to my mom. One time I was telling my mom, "Yo, it's so tough to save," and she told me, "So what you could do is you could save with something like an investment bank or an insurance company, because if you just save that money in your bank, you're going to pull it out no matter what. You're gonna pull it out." Like that's how life comes at you, man. Life comes at you quick, quick. Yeah. And here it says poor people have poor habits, and a common bad habit is innocently dipping into the savings. And the rich know that savings are only used to create more money, not to pay bills. And I think I've believed this statement even more. Like after I've let this ideas marinate in my head before coming to talk about. Maybe that's a good way to come to review books and thoughts from books after you just let yourself marinate on those ideas. It's like, man, yeah. So this idea that the rich know that savings are only used to create more money and not pay bills, it goes back to that idea of like golden slaves and golden children. And the rich know that like their golden children are only, like the word he uses, the word only used, they're only used to create more money and not to pay bills. I don't think, yo, it's so crazy. I don't think this type of thinking is easy, and I don't think this type of thing just like comes up to you. Either someone shows you the way, or you have to actively look for it, and then after that, you have to actively like see if it does fit into like your model of thinking, and then you have to apply it. You understand, and then you have to tweak as you go along the way. So again, I would say, it's a very um, iterative process, but it's also very personal. But you have to give yourself the grace and just allow you to grow through it, and to change your life philosophy, and to change how you see and think about things. Not allow just people to tell things to you, but like, is it true? Who else agrees to this idea? And when you try it and you decide to try it over a long period of time, did you get results or you did not? All right. If you call on your financial genius, you can have all the goodies in life. Get rich and pay bills without sacrificing the good life. And that is financial intelligence. Like, even for me, the things that I want right now, I have a vacation for my family, just like good things for my family. I would want that. But I don't like the pressure of feeling like you have to pick one between bills and the good life. So I need to learn to call on my financial genius. All right. All right. Every one of my investments, there must be an upside, something for free. This is a different way of thinking that was there. If your financial intelligence is low, money will run all over you. It will be smarter than you. If money is smarter than you'll work for it all of your life. This is another idea that is somewhere in the book, in the beginning of the book. But I feel like when you study this book and you just ponder about this book, you find that there are just a few key ideas that get repeated or get reinforced throughout the chapters. Yeah, but indeed, man, if your financial intelligence is low, money will run all over you. If you're afraid to talk about money, to talk about debt, to talk about all those things, money will run all over you. And Yeah, man, to be a master of money, you need to be smarter than it. Then money will do as it's told. It will obey you. Instead of being a slave to it, you will be a master of it. And that is financial intelligence. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Let me go and just wrap up this with some of those highlights. I just trust the principle of reciprocity is true, and I give what I want. I want money, so I give money. It comes back in multiples. Someone sells, so I help someone else sell something, and the sales come to me. I want contacts, and I help someone else get contacts, and like magic, contacts come to me. I had a saying years ago that went, God does not need to receive, but humans need to give. Oh, so that was also about generosity. He repeats this idea here. And here, I remember thinking about this that there are powers in the world that are much smarter than we are. You can get there on your own, but it's easier with the help of the powers that be. And all you need to be is generous with that you have, and the powers will be generous with you. And I think he is talking about God, and maybe he did hide his belief in the supernatural because like it's a book that is designed for millions of people. Yeah, but indeed, I guess what he means here is that there's a God, you know, and yes, you can get there on your own, but it's easier with the help of God. And all you need to is to be generous with what you have, and God will be generous with you. I wish you would have rewritten that way, but I understand. I understand books written for mass markets have to lower the like the religious and like political undertones. So I thought this is like the insight that I got from that book, and I think yeah, small people remain small because they think small, act alone, or don't act at all. And then finally, money is an idea, and if you want more money, simply change your thinking. Man, this two fire ideas to close out just this book. Let me highlight this. Um, yeah, that small people remain small because they think small, act alone, or don't act at all. So, thinking small is having small dreams, having small targets, having a small vision of what is possible. Acting alone is just not involving people, not having a team, and then just not acting. And then money is only an idea, and if you want more, simply change your thinking. Oh man, this is so powerful to me in thinking about money and expanding this money conversation that I've especially had. It's very interesting to me because this is actually something that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in money. I'm really interested in growing businesses that do make money, not just like building businesses that um, like die. And so I do understand like it takes a lot for that to happen. It takes quite the toll on an individual, and man, I want that for myself. So yeah, so that's that. Those are the key highlights from the Rich Dad Poor Dad. After reading the book for 11 years, I really want to sit down and write about this book, but every area in that book has given me a place to have a conversation about, and that's why it makes even more sense for me to come through and have and make a video out of this and just talk about some of the things that I'm thinking about, some of the areas of influence that is influencing me, like about money. And there's a reason why I heard last week that there's something called the Lindy effect. And the Lindy effect says that if a book has or an idea has been prevalent in a society for like about 20 years, it's going to be prevalent in that society for like another 20 years, right? So if this is considered the number one personal finance book like for the last 20 years, we could say that again this could be possibly also the number one personal finance book for the next 20 years, and people who've read this book made millions. Also people who've read this book become poor, so have stayed where they are. Maybe they didn't act on it, maybe they had different circumstances in their lives, who knows, man. When you talk about the psychology of money, you'll see that it's not a straightforward thing, but it's beautiful to think about money as an idea. So yeah, man. So that's that. Really, really excited to just come in again. Um, yeah, do this leadership academy. I've been really, really wanting to do this. I just had to take a bunch of time to really think about some of the thoughts, and then go ahead and do it. So see you next time, and I'm excited to come through one more time. All right.